you have been with corporations for a long time. Me too. I have been observing the impact corporations had in the transition, our economic and political transition in the region over the last 20 years. And my take is that it has been generally very positive. For example, the transfer of know-how, the transfer of best practices through direct investment, through privatizations, greenfield investment, all kinds of things happening in Poland, I consider being successful, mainly successful. There are, however, within my audience, people who are questioning somehow the role of large corporations, people who never worked for the companies, how these corporations operate and what's really important for executives like you. I got a number of good comments on customer satisfaction, on the social role of companies. Can you give me your perspective on the role of a corporation in a transitioning economy like Poland?
I think it's a kind of enabler, because the economy has already its own strength, and they are different. And the number one strength and asset is always the people, right? I think what global company like Microsoft is doing, and especially for the angle of the software, which I think is a very, very different perspective, because the software is an enabler in terms of changing life, giving access to knowledge from the very young age. So if you are in the context of Microsoft, discussing with the government, with Ministry of Education, to find out ways that schools from the very beginning, get access to this type of software, so that you can make sure that there's no disbalance between some of the schools and the others, maybe. But also the way that maybe teachers are transferring the education and knowledge, using better the tools so that they can amplify and then the learning experience. This is done by software, and companies like us are really as part of this type of let's say the stage of the engagement with the countries. But it's also in terms of the contribution to the economy, in the context of maybe not everyone has been trained on IT. And so people who are maybe reaching 40 years old, 45 years old and more, who are in one industry that has been sacrificed or in very bad situation, give them the opportunity to learn the IT or how to use software and the PC and the computer, and to get another chance to come back to the society and contribute to the society. And I think that's the impact of a company like Microsoft is giving, from a public sector perspective, from a citizenship perspective, enabling people to unleash their potential. That's, I think, probably the best positioning of Microsoft as a company. But also, when you think about a country like Poland, and many others, when you discuss with public sector and government, the key things are about, how can I improve my productivity, how I can decrease my cost, how can I be more efficient, how can I be more transparent with my citizens. But it's true also for the private sector. How can I be competitive on the global world? Because I have also foreign competitors coming in my country. My local, maybe small and medium enterprise was fine so far, but you have this branch coming from outside, now competing with me with different rules. And so giving them also the same tools help them to compete fairly and more effectively. And so I think that you see very quickly the power of the software. And if you look at the way, and it, Jacek, the way I give my goals to my general managers, I think not all the goals are about developing markets and gaining market share and generating revenue. 30% of the job and the task of a general manager and the country, in Microsoft subsidiary like in Poland, are really to think about how can I help my country. Because before being a Microsoft employee, you are a citizen of Poland, right? And that's the way we work.
Vahe, thank you very much for being with us, and thank you for making the time for this discussion.
My pleasure.
Thanks.
Thanks.